Welcome to the Wetaskiwin Civic Center on HNLive. This very special Saturday night broadcast on semi-final Saturday. I'm Dave Dawson. Thanks so much for joining us this evening on HNLive.ca. Tonight, it's the first place of Pool A, the Airdrie Thunder, versus the second place in Pool B, the Wetaskiwin Icemen. And it's semi-final Saturday. The winner goes on to play in the gold medal game tomorrow at 2, and the loser will play 10:30 in the bronze medal game tomorrow morning. And the other rink, the other game, Wainwright is first place in Pool B. They're going to be taking on the second place of Pool A, the Beverly Warriors. The host team took a little while to get here. The first place team, Airdrie, knew they were getting here before they played their game today at noon, while Wetaskiwin needed a little bit extra help in their game in order to make that happen. We'll get to that right after we go down to center ice for O Canada.
To remember the Humboldt Broncos. Once again, a moment of silence for the Humboldt Broncos. Please remain standing as we now play the national anthem.
Humboldt strong. 1 year ago today, that horrific bus crash in Saskatchewan that took the lives of 16 members of the Humboldt Broncos. 29 members were on that bus. 16 of them lost their lives. One of them was head coach Darcy Haugan. Man I've known for a number of years when I called Junior B play-by-play 10 years ago. His friend that he coached with for 12 seasons, Mike Fosty, the general manager of the Peace River Navigators, will join us in the first intermission. Be sure to stay tuned for that one. In the meantime, it's semi-final Saturday, Wetaskiwin and Airdrie. Airdrie 3-0 on the round robin, Wetaskiwin 1-2. So after 20, Airdrie leads 2-0 in the semi-final. As talked about throughout the weekend, we are Humboldt strong. April 6th, 1 year ago today, is when that horrific bus crash happened in Humboldt, Saskatchewan, and took the lives of a number of the members of the Humboldt Broncos organization, 16 of them, and one of those was head coach Darcy Haugan. He will be remembered by many as the head coach of the Humboldt Broncos, but in the Junior B hockey community, he is more well known, many would say, for his time spent with the North Peace Navigators of the Northwest Junior Hockey League. He spent 12 seasons coaching there. A man that standing beside me, Mike Fosty, is the general manager of Peace River right now and has been a part of that organization for a number of years. Fosty, I know this is going to be an emotional time for both of us. Back 10 years ago when I was doing play-by-play for Whitecourt, you and I knew each other. I've known Darcy, I respected him during that time. I'm just going to ask you, what's this last year been like for you, and what's it been like today?
Well, last year, like when this all happened, it was tough. I struggled, emotionally. You'll have to excuse me. I might get emotional here tonight too.
I think we've been given permission to just kind of let it go.
Thanks. But yeah, it struck me pretty hard. It all started that night, I saw a text or a tweet by Aaron Rollick that said, "Pray for Humboldt." And so I kind of started wondering what's this about. So I started searching on Twitter and the internet and couldn't find nothing. So of course I pick up the phone and phone Aaron. Him and I, we go way back, provincial time and that sort of stuff. So I gave him a call and he goes, "You haven't heard?" I says, "No, heard what?" And he told me about the bus crash. And so then, of course, I started, searching. And unfortunately, I guess for me at the time, I found a picture that CTV had posted but later took down that evening of the bus. And from, what I could see, what I could tell, the bus, knowing the seating arrangements that we, Darcy and I always had, I knew where he sat. And by looking at the bus, I just, you get one of those feelings that unfortunately, he didn't make it. That was brought to truth, a few hours later. I had heard it on, I seen it on Twitter, following Darcy's sister. And so after that point, that evening, I was pretty emotional. Fortunately, my wife who's given me this opportunity to coach and be the general manager for as long as I have, and my son come over that night and joined me. He's here this weekend with me as he's been a big emotional support over this whole period. And the whole week it was phone calls and that sort of stuff, text messages, and, for that first week, and so of course you got to do the right thing, and you got to go to the funeral, right? So as we're traveling, I get a text from Christina, and she texted me and asked if I would kindly be a pallbearer. And for this man,
Darcy's wife, for those maybe who aren't familiar.
Yeah. So for this man, I and for this family, I couldn't refuse for what they did with me and for me over the time that I spent with Darcy. I said yes. So we're traveling along. We're getting outside of Saskatoon, and as I showed you earlier, the tattoo that's on my arm, they were advertising a big tattoo show in Saskatoon. So I looked at my son and says, "Might be time to get a tattoo, bud." So we get into Saskatoon. I go and I stay with relatives, and then Friday we went and spent the day with Christina and family. I wanted to be there for them and with them, and on our way back, just before we left Christina's, I said, that Christina heard me, and I said to my son, I said, "We're getting tattooed tonight." So I did. I went and got a memorial tattoo, with Darcy, kind of to honor the man because of what he did for the North Peace Navigators organization. We were 20 years ago. Next year's our 20th season, and 20 years ago he was instrumental in helping start the program. Even though he was not living in Peace River, he was asked by our president to help form and formulate a team, and that's what he did from where he was. That's the kind of guy he was. He helped out. He looked after people, and he was and when it came down to it, he was a player's coach.
Who was Darcy to you, Mike?
Darcy was a mentor. He was a friend. Just one of those guys that you just love to call your friend. He was that type of person. Just would help you out any way you could. Was always there to listen if he needed, and that sort of stuff. So, to me, he was a big part of my life for 10 years. Him and I stood shoulder to shoulder on the bench, and anybody that knew the two of us, you'd always thought that I would be the guy that would be getting tossed out and suspended. But you know what? In the 10 years we were together, I got done once, and Darcy 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So, it's amazing how things work.
Yeah.
And after the tragedy, I really had to think of what I was going to do, and I truly considered stepping away from the game, and then I kind of went, well, you know, what would Darcy tell me? You know, if he was standing here in front of me today, what would he tell me? And you know, he would say, no, don't quit, Mike. You know, keep going forward. You got to do what you got to do, and so I did. First couple of times into the arena were really difficult for me, walking through our, you know, office door and into the players' room and that sort of stuff. Just the memories and that sort of stuff, and you know, so it was, you know, I give credit to this man for giving me the opportunity to join the organization and be part of it, and you know, help out along the way as, you know, wherever I could. And you know, that's the type of guy he was. He took that, and you know, he took the help, and you know, because they originally started in 2005 camp, and I was there watching, and my son was trying out. He had been an affiliated player the year before, so I'm at the rink and watching, and you know, Darcy's out there all by himself. So I went down, offered my services, and you know, I'm still there today, and you know, trying to keep what he started, you know, going, and trying to keep it in the same path that he was taking this organization. So
in the interest of fairly limited time, unfortunately, we got to get back to a hockey game in about 5 minutes. I want to ask you, so Peace River made it 2015. Darcy was coaching to the Provincials, lost in the provincial finals to the Red Wings. The next year, 2016, you win the Provincials. That's the year that Darcy went out to Humboldt. You were telling me off the air kind of a cool story of how Darcy actually took the job in Humboldt. Would you mind sharing that for the viewers?
Yeah, you know, the day before the day he accepted the job, then the day before he's leaving, he texts me. He says, "Hey, can I come over?" And I said, "Sure, why not? You know, hey, you're welcome anytime." So he come over, and he come through the front door, and I could tell something was up. And I looked at him, and I says, "You took the job at Humboldt, didn't you?"
So you were saying before he'd applied for a lot of junior A jobs.
He applied for a lot of junior A jobs, and actually 2 years prior to that, he was offered the job in North Battleford with the Stars, and he turned it down because he thought, you know what, it's a little late for me to, you know, to step out on the Navs and go. So I was always, you know, hey, did you apply for this job, or did you apply for that job? And this one, I saw it come up, and you know, I didn't say a word because, you know, Humboldt's got a pretty good history and that sort of stuff, and so I didn't say a word. And you know, that night when he walked in the house, we had, you know, I knew, right? And so of course, you know, we chat and we say our goodbyes, and he goes, "Let's go to the rink." Well, what are we going to the rink for? Let's get a selfie. So you know, and it's the picture I posted tonight on Twitter, you know, saying that I dearly miss it. It's been 1 year, and I dearly miss this man. Or truly miss this man. You know, he is, you know, just like he was a players coach. He worked for the players, and you know, it wasn't so much about hockey for him. It was turning young men or boys into men, right? It was about trying to show them the right way and continue on to a good path in life. So, you know, that was the way he was, and you know, you can see it in his family too. His wife is one hell of a woman to, you know, to be able to shoulder what's happened and to be able to you know, keep going. You can see the values that Darcy brought in his boys. Yeah. You know, it is something. You know, to see how I was fortunate. Christina sent me a text on Monday and said, "Hey, you know, we're having a family reunion on Friday night. You're welcome to come. We're going to reminisce about Darcy." So, you know, I talked to you before, and I said I didn't know if I was coming. I texted you on Monday. I told you I was coming, and I would do the interview live, and so, you know, I had an opportunity to go and sit with the family and reminisce and, you know, show my support for them and that sort of thing. So I'm glad I was able to take part. You know, truly truly thank the Haugan family for everything, and I definitely wish them the best. So
keeping one eye on the clock here. I want to get this in, Mike, because, and this is a story I've told a number of times to different mediums and broadcast. And 8 years ago, when I was in my final year of play-by-play for Whitecourt, Junior B, before they joined the AJHL, Whitecourt had won the league in Peace River. I had asked Darcy before the game if he would do an interview with me, regardless of the outcome. Whitecourt wins the championship. Darcy sat by the glass for 20 minutes, watched all the championship ceremonies, all of it, and waited for me and gave me one of the best interviews I've ever done in my broadcast career. And I'll never forget that moment. I know you remember that as well. And is that just indicative of who Darcy is?
That's very indicative. If you asked him for something, and he would totally wait until you were ready to do what you wanted to do. He was that type of guy. He, if he said he was going to do something, and like he said that night, that like you said, that he would give you the interview regardless of the outcome, and he did. And you sent me that clip last night, and I listened to it, and yeah, it brought back memories and that sort of thing, and so.
Well,
if you want to continue after, we can.
Yeah, no kidding. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here, and I know this day means a lot to so many people, and it means a lot to you. And thanks so much for being real and honest. And I don't know. We got some hockey left to play, but maybe we might do it again in the second intermission. If there's a couple more stories you want to share.
Yeah, if you want to keep going, yeah, we can.
Why don't we pick this up again in the second intermission?
Sure.
All right. I'm going to give you a hug. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's all right,
I don't know
man.
if I've ever
Thank
ended
you.
a live interview with a hug before on TV, but
you do a hell of a job, Dave.
Appreciate that, Fosty.
Thank
Mike
you.
Fosty, the general manager of the North Peace Navigators. All right, well, players are back on the ice here. We're going to get back to action. Now we're back with Mike Fosty again. Mike, you got your son here as well. I understand he played for the Navigators for a little bit too?
Yeah, he did. He was an affiliate in his last midget year for Darcy, and then he played in 05-06 and started the 06-07 season with us, and unfortunately he had to shut her down due to concussion issues. So, it was one of those things that he made the choice to shut it down, but Darcy respected what he did and why he chose to shut it down. So, I mean, he was trying to look after himself first before hockey. So, and Darcy was that kind of understanding guy that if you made that decision, then he would let you stand by it.
Mike, there's so many people across Canada, the U.S., the world, who've really taken this day and made it something special. Obviously, there really are no words to describe. When you were approaching April 6th, when you woke up this morning, what was that like for you? What was the process of engaging in this day, and how difficult really was it for you?
Well, I think it started earlier in the week, and then that I sat down and watched 29 Forever on Wednesday night on TSN, and
the documentary of the Humboldt Broncos, for those who haven't seen it. So
it was a well done 1 hour program. There the emotions really started to come back. I sat with my wife and watched it, and of course the box of Kleenex come out, and everybody knows me as a kind of a rough type of guy, but
I got a hug, so I guess on the opposite side of that.
People that really know me kind of say, I know he's just a big marshmallow on the inside. So, it all kind of really started on Wednesday. Actually, let's back up a little bit. It all really started when you reached out to me about doing an interview. So, we talked that Saturday quite a bit. And of course, it started coming back, and then Wednesday night just more, and then of course last night you had sent me that audio clip of that last interview you had done with Darcy in 2011, and I was laying in bed and had my iPad, so I popped my earbuds in and I listened to it, and of course the emotion started welling up. And then this morning I got up and, of course one of the first things you do, you open your phone, and I opened it to Twitter, and the first thing I saw was the article the well done article that you did with interviewing Christina in what's it, Spectrum Sport magazine.
Yeah.
So, of course, I open it up and I read it, and emotions really started to come out in me, and throughout the day, people just coming up and wishing me the best, and the text messages I've received from people I know back home and friends and that sort of stuff, and phone calls. So, it's. But Darcy would want everybody to move on. He'd be saying that the world doesn't stop. You can't get off, because it doesn't stop. You got to keep going forward. You got to keep pushing forward. And that's what I've been trying to do. And by going back to the Navigators this year, like I said, I almost stepped away from the game. But like I said, I thought about what he would say, and I kind of went, that's what he would want, and that's the type of guy he was.
Can you maybe just speak to the reaction and the support from the Peace River area, and from obviously, I understand when the season started in September, there was something done for Darcy, and I understand there was a game in Whitecourt as well, that they had something for you as well. What did that all mean to you to see and be a part of that?
Well, it all started back after the accident, probably a couple months later, when Humboldt had announced that they were going to move forward and ice a team. So they'd reached out to our organization to see if we would host them and a couple of AJ teams in exhibition games on the September long weekend. So as an organization, it was one of the things for what Darcy did we could do for him. So we jumped on it, and it we worked hard to to put it on and show Humboldt and Grand Prairie and Whitecourt what kind of organization we had and support we had. We sold out both games. Unreal. Just the local support, the support from Grand Prairie people coming up, the support from Whitecourt people coming to watch their team play. It was just phenomenal. It was unreal. And I had a chance to talk to Brent Stark that when they played Whitecourt, and just he goes, yeah, we go back a long way, don't we? I said, yeah, we had a few battles out there. So, but it just to do something for that man and to honor him. And then our first our home opener was the first game played in the league this year, and actually we opened on a Saturday night. Sorry, and I had asked the rest of the league that our game be the only game that took place that night, just so that we could honor Darcy. And I asked, for representation from the teams, the coaches or whatever, to come and represent. And alumni showed up, and we had them on the ice, and we did a presentation, unveiled a banner up on the wall commemorating Darcy and his time with the Navs and his life. And so, it was an emotional day. I didn't think I would be able to go to the rink that night and support my own team, and just because of what was happening, I knew I was going to be emotional, and of course I was. But I mean, it was only to be expected. The Haugan family came both weekends. They came for the September long weekend for the exhibition games, and they came to the banner raising for Darcy. So. I've talked to Leroy a few times, quite a few times since Darcy's dad since then, and every time I see him, he always says, "I can't thank you enough, Mike, for what you've done for us." And I tell Leroy, it's not what I can do for you; it's what you've done it's what Darcy and you have done for the Navigators in the town of Peace River. And this morning, my wife, she went to work, and we have we had got new jerseys this year, new home jerseys, and I had a special one made up with the number 5 on the back and Darcy's name or Haugan on the back of it, and it's been hanging in a shadow box in Boston Pizza since that day, or since we got our new uniforms. And my wife this morning, she went out, she pulled it down, she put it on, wore it at work today, and she went out the front of Boston Pizza, and the town had let me know earlier in the week that they were going to fly flags at half-mast. And she she got a picture taken with her looking at the flag. Flag was at half-mast, and her with the jersey on. And, you know, that's just what, you know, how much Darcy meant to our town and to our organization. You know, he grew up there, played minor hockey there until he moved away to, you know, to further his career in midget AAA and junior and that sort of thing. And then, you know, when he come back, he made it a passion of his to, you know, to work within the community and you know, get our players out working in the community and that sort of thing. So, you know, he was a big part of it, and he's a big part of our organization and where our organization is today. You know, I can't say enough of when he departed in 2015, the team that he left us to play with that year in 2016 when we won provincials. I mean, his fingerprints were all over it. You know, I really felt sorry for him, you know, that we win, you know, for as many times as him and I traveled to the provincials and tried to win this damn thing. You know, we win it and he wasn't able to be part of it. And you know what, I really, for me, that medal was more his than mine. And, you know, to this day, I still say that. His fingerprint, like I said, his fingerprints were all over that team. So,
well, his fingerprints were all over the world. I think just with the awareness, sticks out for Humboldt. I think jerseys and banners in Sweden and all over the place. You had TSN and Sportsnet, and everybody had the Haugan family on with the different Humboldt players. What does that mean to you? Obviously, knowing your relationship with Darcy, to know that the kind of guy he was, the world is kind of seeing the kind of guy he was.
Yeah, it means a lot. Like they say that, you know, the world is a huge place, but the hockey community is awful small and tight, and it showed on that you know, the day after the accident, the night of the accident, that just showed how small how tight and small the hockey community is. And you know, Darcy didn't, it's unfortunate, he, you know, that's the way he got his name out in the world, but you know, he wouldn't have wanted it that way. He wants to be remembered for what he did with the players, how he, you know, coached them, how he mentored them, how he brought them along. Like I said, you know, at Junior A and Junior B, it's about life lessons and teaching life. It's not always about the hockey. It's about the life lessons you learn while playing hockey, and to be a better person from those life lessons that you learn.
Well, Mike Fosty, general manager of the North Peace Navigators, coached with Darcy Haugan was with him. Darcy coached for 12 years. Mike was with him during those 12 years. Mike, I had a chance to chat with Christina this week. We talked on the phone for about a half hour. We've been texting back and forth all week. Just hearing her story of how she's navigated through this and how she's starting to just not move on with life, but, you know, when you have a scar, it's a scar, right? And it'll always be a part of you.
Yep.
If there's some advice you can give people, everybody's had grief in their life, I think, right? A lot of us can't understand the amount of grief that you've experienced, that Christina and her family's experienced, Darcy's parents have experienced, the families associated have experienced. Is there something you can share with people? Maybe they've had grief in the past they haven't been able to navigate through or whatever. How have you walked through this? What has worked for you? And maybe some words to offer somebody who maybe needs a little bit of hope tonight.
Well, I don't know. It's tough to really put into words. You know, you can't stay angry at the world. You got to move on. But you know what? Those memories of those people, hold them dear to your heart, and take them with you wherever you go. Speak positively about those people whenever you can. I know Christina likes people to talk about Darcy and what he meant and how he lived his life and that sort of thing. So those are the types of things I think a person has to deal with. You know, you can't be angry and pissed off at the world all the time. You've got to move on. But like I said, take those memories, hold on to them, walk through life with those memories, but learn from the whole experience. It's, you know, everybody deals with it in a different manner. Everybody has a different coping mechanism, and so those are the types of things that you got to learn to deal with on your own sometimes. But again, those people, talk to them, talk about them, keep them near to your heart, but you still have to move on in life.
Mike, we get just a look at your tattoo there. I don't know if Corey on camera there can just zoom in on it if you maybe can get a good angle. So here's the tattoo. You said the night before Darcy's funeral is when you got that tattoo.
Yes.
Can you just maybe describe it to us and what it's all about?
Well, what it's about is the logo is the Navigator logo. It's the last one that Darcy had brought into the organization when he was with us as a design. The two top people are my children, my son, my daughter, my grandchildren, my granddaughter and my son, my granddaughter, my grandson with my daughter. To me it represents family. These are my family, but this is my extended family, the Navigators, and it was more of a tribute to Darcy, but it's also my family, right? And it's been my family for 14 going on 15 years now.
Well, Mike, you are our family, the Junior B community. We've all become family through this. I'm so grateful for you having the courage to just talk about this today. So thankful for you and all that you've done, and not stepping away from the game, but doing it in Darcy's memory. The Haugan family and everyone connected, Mike. Really appreciate the courage you chat with us tonight.
I appreciate you for having me and listening to my story.
And the Airdrie Thunder head on their way tomorrow. Gold medal game, 2 o'clock. On behalf of Mike Fosty, the North Peace Navigators General Manager, Corey Bro, our cameraman and engineer, Calvin Bellows, our producer. This is Dave Dawson saying thanks so much for joining us tonight on this special broadcast dedicated to the Humboldt Broncos and the memory of Darcy Haugan. We are forever Humboldt strong. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll chat tomorrow morning at 10:30 on HNLive and HNLive.ca.